Hi, everyone. Welcome to the community classroom. This is Dr. Tracey McCarthy, psychologist, attorney, and educator. And what we're going to be talking about today is the question of who were the original Indians that the so-called explorers thought that they found when they landed in the Americas and stumbled upon these copper-colored people who were so similar to the people in India that they thought that they had found them. They also thought they found a couple of other historical groups, but we're just going to focus on this group for now. So the question is, who were the original Indians? Usually you see people from India that you think are from India, and there is a particular phenotype that you see, and it doesn't look consistent with what you see in the Americas in terms of the people that they said they saw and they thought were Indians. But what we're going to look at is some examples of some people who are in the Indian islands. And we're going to be able to see a little bit better why there was confusion and why they saw the brown people in the Americas and thought they were the Indians in the islands. Well, it looks like historians haven't been as clear as possible about the slave trade. And so we see up here when we look at the slave voyages that interestingly, the slaves were the enslaved people, the people that they were human trafficking. They weren't just coming from West Africa, but of course we pretty much knew that. But what's really interesting is that they were enslaving people from the Indian Ocean islands. They were enslaving people from St. Helena. They were enslaving people from the Gulf of Guinea islands, not just the Gulf of Guinea. And so we also see that they were enslaving people from offshore Atlantic islands. And those offshore Atlantic islands are a variety of islands in the South Atlantic and then in the Mid-Atlantic, interestingly. And so because most people, when they're trying to do research, they are not looking to see if their ancestors came from the Indian Ocean Islands. But the interesting thing about the Indian Ocean Islands, and it's also a very confusing thing, is that the Indian Ocean Islands are classified as Africa. So some of you folks in the West Indies and the Caribbean islands, you might be wondering why you are called the West Indians. The reason you're called the West Indians is because there are actual people who are the East Indians. And on the screen, you will see the individuals who are from the East Indian islands in the Indian Ocean off the coast of Africa. And yes, their faces look very familiar. And there's probably a good reason for that. Some of these islands in the Atlantic and the East Indian islands, they are volcanic islands. And so there's probably an explanation that's related to some of that rifting and splitting and volcanic action and earthquakes that caused that splitting off of these islands from areas in the Americas and areas in Africa and India when all of these areas were apparently connected. And yes, you guessed it, this is Seychelles, and these are the East Indians of Africa. And they should look very familiar to those of you who are in Barbados, those of you who are in Jamaica, those of you who are in New Orleans, those of you who are in Canada at this point in time, mainland United States, the entire Caribbean area. This should look very familiar to you. Remember, knowledge is power. Take care and see you soon.